Modern society affords us benefits that our ancestors could only dream of. Temperature-controlled rooms, food storage, and global distribution channels mean that we can live comfortably with whatever products we want. Yet it seems that as a society, we are more unhappy than ever. Why is this? I have my reasons as to why I believe we feel this way, and unfortunately, I think it has a lot to do with money. I believe there are two reasons for the overall decline in happiness in society. Firstly, most people require money to live, and the primary method of earning that money is from employment. Second, people forced to become employees due to the first point surrender their time and life force as part of the exchange. A reward for working a job has traditionally been a living wage. Unfortunately, modern life, especially in recent years, has eroded the ability for the average person to comfortably meet their survival needs through their wage. This may or may not be intentional, however, the end result is the same. People are struggling. This change has occurred due to many factors, including centralization of business ownership, stagnant wage growth, and rising costs of survival needs. Survival referring to meeting your basic human needs like food, water, shelter, security, and warmth. To use Maslow's hierarchy of needs as a reference point, this would refer to your physiological and safety needs. You need to provide your body with the nutrients it needs, rest comfortably, and store your things safely. There's only one thing that solves all of these problems. That's money. Money is required to live in our society. We buy everything we need, from basic goods to luxury items, with money. We work hard to get more money, and we spend a lot of our time worrying about money. So what is money? Well, money is crystallized human effort. Humanity creates goods and services, and we can exchange those things with each other for money. That said, money itself has no value, and it only has value because society accepts it as a medium of exchange. Therefore, society sets the value of the money, and therefore the goods and services exchanged within it. Goods and services that society values more attract a higher price than others. Similarly, employment that society deems to be of higher value is compensated at that higher rate. The more money you have, the bigger the share of humanity's collective effort you are able to purchase. And there are only two ways to increase the amount of money you have available to you. Number one, earn more, and number two, spend less. One of the fastest ways to increase your income is to find ways to utilize the skills of your job outside of your job. Whether it's through a side hustle or starting your own business, creating additional sources of income is essential in the modern day. Without creating alternative income sources, you're beholden to the rates of pay made available to you by your employer. Many struggle to achieve this first option. Earning more is often outside of many people's control. Collective bargaining efforts by unions and other organizations often control the rates of pay in certain industries. And here in Australia, if you're skilled in an award-based role, like teaching, nursing, construction, and many others, your ability to negotiate your rate of pay and to perform identical work yourself is severely limited or impossible. You're forced to go through these guilds that control the rates of pay. And if you don't have the ability to control your rate of pay or the hours that you work, then spending less is the only short-term option available to you, which, of course, means foregoing luxury and frivolous spending to stabilize your situation. It's not ideal, and it's not a recommendation in the long term, but the pain of destitution will be greater than the sadness of not buying your favorite things right now. But how did we get ourselves into this situation? And why are so many struggling despite us having the best technology and facilities and the overall highest quality of life of any generation in history? I want to try and explain this through a short history lesson. Around 200 years ago, it was rare to see a corporation that sold everything. It was customary to visit the baker, the butcher, the greengrocer, and the dairy farmer individually to purchase the food that you needed. Nowadays, almost everybody does their shopping at a supermarket or a mega mart that happens to sell everything you could possibly want. In the past, each member of the community took pride in being the provider of a specific trade for their community. This was especially important as people lived in smaller communities that were more closely knit. And as a result of the community's reliance on their trade, they were compensated fairly, though not fantastically, for their efforts. Due to the Industrial Revolution, many businesses with the capital to expand were able to mass produce goods at a rate and cost that manual labor businesses couldn't compete with. These larger businesses could sell their products at a fraction of what these small businesses could offer. And over time, this increasing competition, as well as the continued downward pressure on prices, forced people to close their businesses, but their need to earn a living never went away. They were essentially coerced through threat of destitution to take their jobs in the factories that were producing the same things that they were producing and getting paid less for it. And as expected from the increase in productivity over time, workers were able to produce more and more of these goods for their employers. And surely giving the workers access to technologies that increase their output is of benefit to everyone, right? Well, yes and no. Technological improvements have meant that we can produce more things faster, easier, and better than we could before. The rate of growth in the last 100 years has been especially rapid. But if workers are producing more, then surely they would receive compensation proportionate to the value of the work they're completing, right? Wrong. And on the centralization of businesses went until we could buy everything we needed in a single store. At least we can choose which megastore we buy from though, right? But how does this relate to being unhappy? I believe that this centralization of business ownership is the cause of our collective unhappiness, but not directly. Centralization of business ownership funnels business profits up to the owners, which should be encouraged. Of course, business owners are responsible for its successes and should assume risk for its failure. Obviously, that doesn't happen, but nevertheless, profit is the reward for innovation. But problems arise when businesses continue to withhold the rewards of increased productivity from their employees. Productivity, of course, referring to the value of an employee's labor. Businesses must always pay employees less than the true value of their labor, otherwise it would not be worthwhile for the business to hire them and remain profitable. And as technology has improved, the value each employee can produce has increased greatly. The gulf between the value of an employee's labor and the wages they are paid have grown to untenable levels. Productivity has skyrocketed, while employee wages increase at a disproportionate rate to the value of their work. In addition, when factoring inflation into this issue, employee wages are lagging if not entirely flat. This phenomenon has the direct effect of separating the value of the employee's work from the compensation they receive. For example, if your employer pays you $30 to perform a job, then the value of that work must be more than $30 per hour to your employer. If it wasn't, your employer wouldn't offer you the job. Not only has the amount of money the employer receives proportionate to that output decreased, but their attachment to that output is also lost. It can sometimes be difficult to find pride and meaning in what you do if you are merely serving the interests of a large corporation. This is especially true if you're working in a role or industry that you don't enjoy. Modern society prevents us from finding a solution to the productivity value versus wage value issue. It is simply a fact of modern life. Shareholder demands ensure that businesses maximize profits. We have seen that businesses will achieve their profit goals by whatever means necessary, including laying off thousands of staff without warning. A full-time job is no longer a source of security as it was for previous generations. The value of employment has eroded to no longer provide enough for families to thrive, not allow employees to find meaning in their lives, and in many cases, attempt to make it difficult for employees to improve their situation. My view of society is built on a few bleak truths. Business ownership as a percentage of the population is underrepresented due to the overwhelming presence of large businesses. The vast majority of people in our society are employees for another business. Businesses that hire employees do not pay the employees the full value of their labor. And a society has been created where most people are forced to opt in to becoming employees due to lack of other opportunities to make money. The rise in employees versus business owners provides a stable source of workers for corporations to utilize the labor of. This provides governments with predictable amounts of tax revenue from payroll taxes as well as income taxes. The standard path for a person is to work a full-time job for many years, save for retirement, often with the help of mandatory retirement account payments, and then retire around their 60s. This trajectory is not for me, and I know it isn't. And it's my responsibility to find a way out for myself. I believe there's only one way to succeed at this game. Stop playing it as soon as possible. You have to find a way to not have to spend all of your money. Find a way to avoid spending the rest of your life working for someone else. You must be ruthless with your financial decisions if you want your situation to improve. When companies playing the game can be as ruthless as laying off hundreds, if not thousands of employees whenever they feel like, then you have to achieve the same level of ruthlessness with your own finances and your own spending. I've been discussing my personal philosophy over on my blog, scottonfire.com, over the last year and a half. And when talking about my personal philosophy, The Third Journey, I noted that if one does not have control of their time, then one could be considered a modern day slave. Of course, the quality of life we enjoy today is vastly different to the average life from even 100 years ago. This at least makes the idea of modern slavery bearable, but to ignore the facts of our society only serve to turn a blind eye to the facts of the lives we live today. We live in a world of absolute abundance, yet we are driven towards endless consumption. We have the ability to provide the basic human needs for everyone, yet many people find themselves struggling or starving. The time we have available to ourselves while working a traditional full-time job undermines every aspect of a healthy lifestyle, and increases in the cost of living continue to make meeting our basic needs more difficult than they need to be. All the while, the value of the work we provide is being extracted from our labor by mega corporations that don't serve our interests. We are living in a society of enslavement, modern day slavery, and saving is the only way to get a chance to break your chains.